The next day arrives, bright and clear. The man walks home in a great mood, humming to himself after finishing work. His pleasant walk is interrupted when he spots something ahead. A blond man is passed out cold in the middle of the road. The man, annoyed, assumes he's just a drunk blocking the path. Without hesitation, he kicks the man to wake him up. He angrily tells the man to get out of his way. The blond man slowly begins to stir, his voice a low growl. His eyes snap open, filled with fury, as he wonders which bastard had the nerve to treat him this way. The man stares in disbelief, recognizing the man before him as young Master Yang. Young Master Yang clutches his head, annoyed by the early morning yelling. Suddenly, he notices a strange, prickly feeling in his hair. He looks down to see chunks of his own hair scattered on the ground around him. His confusion quickly morphs into pure, unadulterated fury. He screams, demanding to know who dared to cut his hair. Losing all composure, he vows to have his father kill the culprit. Yang issues a stern warning, declaring he's not afraid to send Landon to prison. Yang, furious, yells to his dad. He sprints towards a building, crying out that he's been bullied again. He demands that his father find and execute his tormentors. The boy's father, looking initially calm and powerful, suddenly sees something that fills his eyes with pure terror. 3 police agents in suits approach him. The boy watches in shock as his father is handcuffed and escorted away. In a panic, the son grabs one of the agents' legs, demanding they release his dad. He threatens to have them all sentenced to death. One agent confronts an aggressive man, confirming his name is Yang Tianli. Tianli snaps back defiantly. Agent calmly identifies himself as being from the Anti-Corruption Bureau. He reveals that Tianli's father is under investigation for serious violations and requests his cooperation. The news instantly drains the fight from Yang Tianli, leaving him in stunned disbelief. His mind flashes back to a conversation with his father. His father, with his back turned, warns him that this time not even he can help. The memory ends with his father telling him to take care of himself. Returning to the present, tears well up in Yang Tianli's eyes as the devastating reality sets in. Suddenly, the scene shifts. A voice calls out for someone named Shanzi. Landon's classmate shakes him awake at his desk. He shouts the big news. Yang Tianli's dad has been arrested. Landon, looking completely drained, barely reacts. His classmate is baffled by his calm response. With a crimson glint in his eye, Landon cryptically states that bad people eventually pay for their actions. He dismisses his friend, saying he's just really tired. The classmate presses him, asking what he was doing last night to be so exhausted. He also points out that Landon smells damp. Landon claims he went to the river to catch fish. His classmate is shocked to hear he caught over 100 pounds worth. He warns Landon that fishing in rivers is banned, and he could be arrested as well. Landon says nothing as the scene shifts to a red-tinted memory. Newspaper clippings swirl around as he thinks back to his past life. A political storm sweeps the city, an event Landon is all too familiar with from his past life. Watching a news report, he notices a key detail has changed. The arrest in the Yang case happened earlier this time. Landon realizes his rebirth is like a butterfly's wings, already creating ripples that alter the timeline. He pushes aside the complexities of his situation to focus on a more practical issue. Landon now has $6 million and must decide how to spend it. His mind flashes with dark silhouettes as he reaffirms his single-minded goal: revenge. However, he knows $6 million is a paltry sum for building a force capable of taking on young Master Chen. Landon considers making investments to multiply his capital. A bead of sweat forms as he desperately searches for a plan. Landon's mind drifts as he considers his financial situation, thinking about buying a building to rent out. He scoffs inwardly, frustrated by his long-standing poverty. He concludes that becoming a landlord is the most reliable path to wealth he can imagine. Walking through a building, he feels a pang of regret, wishing he'd studied harder. His thoughts trail off as he walks into a darker area. Suddenly, he comes across a group of thugs beating a man on the ground. Landon watches from a distance, noting the awful security in the old district. Despite the violence, he decides this is still his shortest route home. With a detached expression, Landon crosses his arms, choosing to wait for the beating to finish. The thugs continue their assault, screaming at the man for not having any money. The victim cries out, begging them to stop and insisting he's broke. A man in a suit cowers on the ground, pleading with his attackers. Landon watches from the side, his red eyes narrowed as he identifies the man as a bureau director. He internally scoffs at the pathetic sight of a high official being beaten by street thugs. One of the thugs, wielding a pipe, viciously insults the director. Another attacker screams in frustration. The thug swings the pipe, striking the director hard across the head. The director grunts in pain as he's hit. He collapses to the ground, motionless. A group of thugs look down at director's seemingly unconscious body. One of them asks, "Dead?" His bald companion replies, "No idea." A third thug in a green jacket grins maliciously as he raises a metal pipe. "Let's test it and find out," he says. He swings the weapon down with vicious intent. Suddenly, a foot stomps down, shattering the end of the pipe just before it can connect. The attacker looks up in complete shock. Landon is on his feet, having blocked the attack. With blinding speed, Landon unleashes a furious counterattack. He lands a brutal strike, overwhelming his opponent. A thug is struck down in a single, swift motion. His underlings rush to their fallen boss's side in a panic. They look up to see Landon standing over them, the source of the attack. One of the men, Director Dong, stares up in disbelief. A look of horrified recognition flashes across Director Dong's face. Landon greets him coolly. "We meet again, Director Dong." With a smirk, Landon mockingly asks if his office wasn't comfortable enough that he had to come hide in the sewers like a rat. In a dark alley, several men lie beaten and unconscious on the ground. Landon stands amidst the chaos, looking down at the groaning figures. One of the men, Dang, looks up in shock and disbelief. "Jang? Jang Shan?" he stammers, before demanding to know what Landon is doing here. With a confident smirk, Landon says he was about to ask Dang the same thing. Landon points out that Dang is a director and questions how he ended up in such a state. Flustered, Dang claims he was gauging public sentiment on an undercover inspection. Landon scoffs at the poor excuse, pointing out that Dang was beaten to a pulp. He sarcastically remarks on how under Dang's undercover work truly is. Desperate, Dang grabs Landon's arm, lecturing him for having no sense of danger. With a look of desperate inspiration, Dang's attitude completely shifts as he tries to recruit Landon into the police force. He even offers to hire the boy as his personal bodyguard. Landon, unimpressed, tells Dang to stop joking, stating he has something serious to discuss. A relieved Dang quickly agrees and leads him to his nearby car. As they get in, Dang complains about the little punks who beat him up, grumbling that impulsive teenagers never think about the consequences. From the passenger seat, Landon coolly asks if Dang's comment is a jab at him. Dang freezes, suddenly realizing his blunder. Landon is also a teenager. He immediately backpedals with a nervous laugh, calling Landon a young hero who is nothing like those thugs. Landon sits stone-faced with his arms crossed, clearly not buying the flattery. As Dang starts to thank him again, Landon cuts straight to the point. He tells Dang that the security in the old district is a huge problem that needs a complete overhaul. Dang agrees wholeheartedly, but then his expression shifts slightly. He brings up a potential complication, asking what they should do about Officer Lin. Landon reveals he knows about Uncle Lin's concerns for local security. He bluntly tells Director Dong that if he wants a promotion, he'll need more than just undercover inspections. Landon states that Dong needs real, tangible achievements. Director Dong, shocked by the teenager's audacity, asks what he's getting at. Landon coolly tells him to keep his eyes on the road. With a confident smirk, Landon reveals his true motive. He has a way to get rich and is looking for a trustworthy partner. Director Dong's interest is immediately piqued by the mention of wealth. Landon explains his plan involves the old, dilapidated district in the east. He reveals a critical piece of information. The area is slated for demolition. The realization dawns on Director Dong. He shouts in disbelief, asking if Landon means they should move in beforehand. As Director Dong loses his composure, Landon remains perfectly calm. He chides the director, telling him to watch the road so they don't get killed. Regaining a fraction of his composure, Director Dong brings up the obvious problems with the plan. He points out that it would require a massive amount of money and powerful connections. Landon confidently declares he has the money and will make the connections himself. He explains to Director Dong that what he truly needs is an insider, someone to handle trouble and ensure everything is done properly. Looking directly at him, Landon makes his pitch, asking if he's interested in earning some retirement money. Director Dong stammers, clearly conflicted by the high-risk, high-reward offer. Sweating and gritting his teeth, he weighs the life-changing decision. Later in the car, a resolved Director Dong eagerly accepts the partnership. He tells Landon to think of him as an uncle, ready to do whatever is needed. Landon smirks, pleased as he addresses him as Uncle Dong. As they drive, Director Dong asks how Landon found out about the demolition, questioning if the Lin family told him. Landon deflects with a sly smile, telling him to take a guess. Director Dong laughs, amused by his new mysterious partner. The scene shifts to the next day. Landon arrives at school, blending back into his life as a student. The quiet morning study session is shattered by a loud slam. A hand hits a desk, startling everyone in the classroom. A hooded figure suddenly appears, calling out for Landon. Landon looks over, dryly wondering if the person is an Egyptian. With a loud thud, the figure drops to his knees. It's Yang, and the entire class stares in utter shock at the scene unfolding. Yang desperately begs Landon, admitting he was wrong and deserves to die. Tears stream down his face as he pleads for Landon to save his dad. He reveals Landon is the only one who can talk to the Lin family on his behalf. Yang grabs onto Landon's leg, promising to do anything he wants in return. He even offers to kowtow, bowing his head toward the floor in complete submission. Landon simply looks down at the pathetic display, utterly confused. The students recoil in shock at the sight of a man's bare torso. Suddenly, the man erupts into a fit of maniacal laughter. Nearby, the formerly arrogant class president Yang is kneeling on the floor, looking completely defeated. A classmate rushes over, asking what's happened to him. One girl asks Landon if Yang has seen the light. Another student corrects her, saying it seems more like he's turning over a new leaf. Overwhelmed with humiliation, Yang screams for everyone to stop looking at him. Imaginary shadowy figures taunt him for throwing a young master's tantrum. He grabs his bald head in agony, yelling, "How dare you!" Landon looks down at him, silently wondering why Yang shaved his head. Landon then taunts him, asking if he's unhappy with his handiwork. Furious, Yang thinks back to how this happened. In a flashback, he remembers telling the barber he needed to look good for school, and the barber confidently agreed. The memory ends, and Yang seethes, thinking about how ridiculous the haircut made him look. Landon tells a kneeling student to stand up, reminding him that a man doesn't kneel so easily. He yanks the student to his feet, questioning why he's making a scene. The student's face fills with desperate hope as he asks if Landon will help him. Landon immediately crushes that hope, stating he never said he would. He reveals that the Yang's father was arrested according to the law. Landon coldly adds that the student should already know what his father has done. He advises the student to cooperate with the investigation rather than trying to use connections. With a sharp, crimson-eyed glare, Landon orders him to stop making a scene before class starts. The student's face contorts in a mask of pure despair and fury. He lets out a single bitter heh. As Landon turns his back and walks away, the student glares after him, vowing revenge. Kneeling on the floor, he thinks of everything he's lost. Clenching his fists, he promises that Landon is going to lose everything too. In the school hallway, Yang points at Landon in disbelief. He asks his friend if Landon is cursing him to go bald, but Landon simply stares back in silence. Later that night, a group of thugs gathers in front of an apartment complex, one of them nervously asking their leader, Brother Yang, if they have to go through with the plan. He reminds Yang that they just got beaten up and some of their crew are still in the hospital. Furious, the bald-headed Yang screams at them to shut up and prepare the supplies. The thugs light up Molotov cocktails, their hesitation growing. One of them pleads with Brother Yang, saying that while fighting is one thing, arson is a felony. Yang grabs him, his face contorted with rage, and yells at him for being scared. He declares that this will be ruled an accidental fire and orders his men to burn everything down. Watching from the shadows is the student who had confronted Landon earlier. He reflects on everything he's lost, his family, wealth, dignity, and future. With a look of pure hatred, he whispers Landon's full name, Jiang Shan. Let's experience hell together. Brother Yang looms over his target, a lit Molotov cocktail in his hand. He sneers, "Welcome to nothingness." Suddenly, a new voice cuts through the night, calling out to the terrified student. "Well, well, Class President Yang, can't sleep." The student, Class President Yang, whips around in a panic, shouting, "Who's there?" His eyes widen in sheer terror as he recognizes the figure perched on a branch above him. He stammers in disbelief, Jiang Shan!" Landon looks down, a predatory grin on his face as his crimson eyes glow in the darkness. "That's me," he says coolly. "We meet again." A voice rang out, spotting someone perched high in a tree. It was Landon, looking down with a calm, imposing presence. The man on the ground, Yang, recognized him with shock. Landon smirked, his crimson eyes glinting in the dark. Yang panicked, questioning why Landon wasn't asleep. He immediately ordered his two henchmen to attack. One of the goons hesitated, reminding Yang that Landon was the one who had beaten them up the day before. Furious, Yang demanded they repay his kindness by fighting now. He pointed to one of his lackeys, ordering him to go first. Terrified, the goons scrambled for excuses. One faked a sudden headache, while the other tried to push his partner forward. They argued, each refusing to be the first to face Landon. Landon let out a weary sigh. He said there was no point arguing over who went first because they were all going to die anyway. His calm demeanor shattered as his face twisted into a feral snarl, his eyes glowing a menacing crimson. With explosive speed, he launched himself into the air. Before Yang could react, Landon was upon him. He unleashed a devastating spinning kick that connected squarely with Yang's head. The brutal impact sent blood flying from Yang's mouth. Landon looked down coldly, his red eyes devoid of emotion, scanning impassively over his defeated opponent. On the ground, a shattered Molotov cocktail burned itself out. Nearby, a bald man cursed in frustration and turned to his terrified subordinate, Yang. "Shit! Useless! Your turn!" he barked. Stammering in disbelief, Yang pointed to himself. "Me? You want me to fight him?" Landon's crimson eyes glowed ominously as he simply stared back. Suddenly, Yang made a ridiculous excuse about leaving the gas on at home and bolted away. The bald man shouted after him, "Ungrateful bastard!" He turned back to the lit bottle in his hand, lost in bitter thoughts. Landon's cold voice cut through his anger. "What are you looking at?" The bald man froze as Landon towered over him, radiating terrifying pressure. His crimson eyes burned with cold intensity. Sweating profusely, Yang brandished a lit Molotov cocktail in desperation. Before he could finish his threat, Landon closed the distance in a flash. With impossible speed, he seized Yang's wrist, stopping the attack cold. Yang was stunned by Landon's speed and overwhelming strength. Realizing he stood no chance, his bravado collapsed into fear. He quickly changed his tune, pleading that he was only joking, reminding Landon that they were classmates. A menacing smile spread across Landon's face as he asked for a favor. Desperate to survive, Yang immediately agreed to anything. Landon's crimson eyes narrowed as he gave a chilling command. "Stay quiet from now on." Confused and terrified, Yang began to ask what he meant. Before he could finish, Landon unleashed a vicious, lightning-fast assault. He brutally beat Yang, shouting, "I told you to shut the hell up! What if you wake up my mom?" Sobbing on the ground, Yang whimpered that he was calling the cops. From his apartment, Landon heard the crying and thought to himself how even that disturbed the peace. Suddenly, sirens filled the air. A police car arrived on the scene. An officer stepped out, announcing they had received a complaint about criminals. Without hesitation, he ordered his subordinate to arrest the bald man nearby. The bald man was stunned by the sudden accusation. Yang, beaten and furious, grabbed the officer's arm in protest, claiming Landon had been the violent one who broke his leg. He then shouted at Yang again, calling him an ungrateful bastard. The senior officer grabbed Yang and told him to be quiet. He lectured him condescendingly, saying his father hadn't taught him how to read a situation. He warned that playing with powerful people without understanding the circumstances was dangerous. As his men dragged the bald man away, the officer gave the final order to take him. Then the officer's demeanor completely changed. He turned to Landon with a fawning smile, thanking him for his hard work and calling him Little Jang. He even offered to arrange a project for him as a reward. Looking utterly exhausted, Landon simply turned him down. With his spirit broken, Dang cheerfully reminded Landon they had business to handle tomorrow. Landon listened with a weary but determined expression. The next day, the two arrived in a dilapidated industrial district. Dang immediately complained about the terrible roads, full of potholes, grumbling that a dump like this could never make money. Skeptical, he asked Landon if they could really get rich from this place. But Landon knew a secret from his past life. This very demolition had created 17 multimillionaires. He offered Dang another inside tip. Intrigued, Dang asked what it was. Landon revealed the area would be included in the Satellite City expansion plan. The name left Dang completely confused. Landon explained that a new high-tech industrial zone would send land prices soaring and demolition compensation would skyrocket. Dang was floored by Landon's foresight. Overjoyed, he exclaimed that he had really backed the right person. But Landon's thoughts were cold. He knew they were just using each other. With a confident smirk, he considered his partnership with Director Dong, seeing a path to immense profit in demolition. He urged Dong forward, stating there were many more properties to see. As Landon walked briskly through an alley, Director Dong struggled to keep up. They arrived at their destination, the Slow Time Bar, with an urgent sale sign posted on the door. Inside, Landon sat across from the elderly owner with a contract and $150,000 in cash on the table. As the owner prepared to sign, Landon complimented the establishment and asked why he was selling. The old man explained that his son had racked up massive gambling debts and collectors were threatening him daily. Facing the loss of the entire building, he reluctantly signed it over. Dang exploded with rage over the son's actions. But Landon's crimson eyes narrowed in suspicion. The timing of the debt collection, just before demolition, was too convenient. He turned to the old man for answers. The man revealed the creditor was the infamous Chen Jin-Hu, known as Lord Hu. He added that Lord Hu seemed more interested in the bar itself than the money owed. Landon's suspicions were confirmed. With a subtle smirk, he told Director Deng to hold off on finalizing the contract. Deng, oblivious to the gravity of the situation, suggested they stop for a drink. Landon immediately shut him down, his expression serious. His crimson eyes gleamed knowingly as he explained that they weren't the only ones involved. Another person, too, was waiting for the east wind.